Hi, I'm Chef Keena Hartman from Northern California's Bay Area, and today I'll be sharing with you some Southern soulful classics out of our kitchen in California. We have a spiny lobster that we chicken fry with spices and a nice remoulade. We have a really fresh California salad with beets and watermelon radish. We also have a really nice sweet potato creme brulee straight out of our pastry kitchen. So come on, let's make it. All right, so here I'm cutting up a little bit of cornichon or sort of savory or sour green tiny gherkin pickle. And I'm doing that to put inside of my remoulade sauce in order so that we might have a little dipping sauce with our appetizer. So you'll see, these go into the appetizer. I'm going to make it nice and fine. I like the grade of this to be just very fine because in a sauce you just kind of want the textures to meld well with what you have going on in the sauce. I'm also chopping up a little bit of capers, green capers, and that's about a 1/4 teaspoon to a 1/2 teaspoon of capers, and also about a 1/4 teaspoon of preserved green peppercorns. So just chopping all of that up, and we'll add this to a nice sauce a little bit later on. I'm just going to reserve it for now. All right, good. And that'll go with our sauce ingredients over there. We'll just whip that up right before we serve our appetizer. All right, and what is our appetizer? Our appetizer today, you're not going to believe this, but it is a chicken fried lobster. So fresh, so very good. These lobster tails came out of California. They're a mini sort of small lobster. They have spiny little prickly pins on them, and very sweet, a little salty from that salt water in the Pacific Ocean, but definitely fresh and really, really good. The way we address these is we just take them. In this preparation, I'm going to use scissors instead of a knife because I just want a really clean cut. I'm cutting them a little larger, maybe about 2 inches, and I'm just going to sit them in this bowl, and we'll get some seasoning on them. So as I do that, I'm thinking about my main course already, and I really want to get my grits cooked for the fish and grits that we're going to have as our main course. I'll get those all cooked up, and then we'll work on an appetizer, like sort of while our fish and grits is cooking. All right, so give me just a moment to get it together here and get some seasoning on this lobster. And we'll let this sit with the seasoning on it and get nice and well seasoned and let it soak in while we make our grits. Okay. All right. All right, so while that's sitting, I'm just gonna get to my grits over here. So I have some stone ground grits here. These are a hominy grit. They're a white hominy grit. I had these shipped in from the Carolinas. They're Anson Mills, and everybody knows Anson Mills kind of makes the best heirloom grits these days. And I'm using heirlooms just to sort of preserve that sort of very old style slow way of cooking. And that's again why we're starting the grits now. They'll finish, you know, towards the end of the main course, is because it takes them just a little bit more time to cook. I'm going to add to my grits a little bit of stock. This is a chicken stock. You can use whatever stock you prefer, beef or even seafood stock, since we're using fish today. But I'm going to add my chicken stock to the pot where I'm cooking my grits. And I'm just going to heat that. Just going to heat that to about medium high. We want to bring it up to a nice bubble. There we go. Bring that up to a nice bubble. And to that stock, I'm going to add about a half cup of milk. And I'm using about a cup and a half of stock and about a half a cup of milk. So that'll give me 2 cups all together. With that, I will use about 1 cup of the grits. And we'll pour those in sort of once this comes up to the bubble. To my my liquid, I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of butter. I want a nice buttery stock. And let me get the pickles off of here. A nice buttery stock. And you know, you can be as generous as you like. I prefer sort of a 3 tablespoon measure. It seems like a lot, but once your grits really get cooking, you'll see that it's not that much really. All right, and you'll also find that 1 cup of heirloom grits, like these are the old style stone ground grits, they really cook up in volume. So you'll have quite a bit, and this butter will go a long way. You'll even add some sort of toward the end to make sure that butter flavor is really there, really present. And we'll reserve that butter for that time. We're also going to add just a little bit of cheese. I have here a blend of cheddar, both white and yellow, and we'll add that cheese into our grits just sort of as we're mixing and as we're going along. So I'm just going to turn my heat up just a little bit. I want to get my liquid sort of cooking. There it is. It's getting hot there. I can see my butter is starting to melt. We don't want to scald the milk. We just want to bring it just up to the boil. And once you see it bubbling, you can add your grits in. And so I'm just waiting for that bubble to happen. And it's okay to turn the fire up just a little bit to get you there, you know. I'm also noticing that my stock was just a little gelatinous. It wasn't as liquid as I wanted. So I'm just going to add just a touch of water to swish out my jar and have it ready so that I can add, like, once I start putting my grits together. All right, so now that I got a little bubble going in my pot, my milk is coming up. You'll see it start frothing a little bit. You can rest assured that's going to happen. You don't want to let that happen for too long, though. So I'm reducing my heat down to medium low, and I'm going to go ahead and add about a cup of grits to this mixture. And these, like I said, are just some of the best grits that I've come across. They taste wonderful. The hominy corn sort of flavor really comes through in them. And you just want to stir them into your liquid. You don't have to sort of beat them into submission. It's totally fine. They may clump just a little bit, but you can smooth them out in the stirring process a little bit down the line as we go. So I'm just adding a little bit at a time so I can see where I'm at. That was about 3/4 of a cup, and I'm adding like the last 1/4 of a cup in now. All right, so again, stirring it in and making sure all of our ingredients get nice and incorporated. You'll start to notice that it's getting a lot creamy, and then you might even notice a few lumps, but you can work those out as you stir it and get the liquids all mixed through. So I hear my pot bubbling a little bit. That's totally fine. It was a hot pot to start off with, and you just want to make sure that you're turning it down if you need to, just to sort of accommodate you while you get your lumps out. So that's what I'm doing here. And this will take a couple of minutes to get through, so just be patient with it. It's really fine. It's perfectly normal. Don't panic. If you have like more lumps than you need, you can always add liquid, and that's what I'm going to do right now. As a matter of fact, you're probably going to always need a little bit extra liquid on the side, sort of as you go through this recipe. These grits are, again, stone ground. They're heirloom grains, which means they're sort of old world grains, and they don't cook quickly, and you need to hydrate them every so often in this process. All right, so I'm at a place where I feel like they're really creamy. I really like what I'm seeing here, and I'm just gonna let them sort of reserved for the next time I go to stir. That way I can just, keep monitoring it and keep adding liquid as the grits expand in the pot. Meanwhile, I'm going to come back to my appetizer dish, and I'm gonna get my lobster all breaded. And now that I kind of see that my seasoning is here, and I'm gonna add just a touch of hot sauce just for my own pleasure. I like to add just a little bit so it gives a little bit of bite. It also just kind of helps the seasoning adhere and move around a little bit better on this lobster. I want every piece to have a little bit of that seasoning on there. And once it does, I'm gonna go ahead and flour and dust my lobster so that we can get it in the fryer. And this is just, all-purpose organic flour that I'm using, nothing special. But I have actually added a little bit of tapioca flour to it just to give it a really light crumb. And you'll see what I mean when they come out the fryer. Some people use cornstarch. I'm using tapioca today because I really just like the way that it lends to a very light and crisp breading. So I'm getting this all breaded, and we look good. Dirty hands, but it's for a good purpose. Very good. And so here I have my oil heating, and I just want to test to see where we are. It looks like we're all right. So I'm gonna drop my lobster now. My oil is heated. We got it up to about 350, 375, heating it on medium high for a few minutes here. And I'm using peanut oil today because peanut oil will give me that really nice crispness that I like. As you know, peanuts are synonymous with African American culture, as George Washington Carver has told us so many times in the history books. So just dropping a little bit of that lobster here. All right, and you can hear it really sizzling, really bubbling. It's important to note that you sort of want to, as you're dropping, have the lobster fall away from you and not towards you, so that you're not splashing up onto yourself as you're dropping this. And just make sure every little piece is covered. You don't want to have any bare bits of lobster. All right, and so we're just putting that there. And our last bit here. All right, and those are going to fry on 375, 350 for about 2.5, 3 minutes. Okay, so we're at the 1.5 minute mark, and I can see that my oil is probably at about 375, 385, and I'm just kind of like waiting for it to get crisp on all sides. I'm helping it along by moving it and flipping it just a little bit, very gently, not to shake off all of the hard work that you put into breading it. And just making sure it's done through. And the way you do that is just looking at the color of the underbelly, making sure that you're not getting too much liquid coming out of the pieces in the pan. The bubbles should be getting a little bit tighter inside the oil, little smaller bubbles than before. And now it's about time to take them out. We don't want to overdo them and for the lobster to be rubbery. So that's the key, is getting it out right in time. So I'm just bringing it out now. And I'm draining it on a bit of paper towel. Nice and crispy. And it's okay to just, be patient. Let it really fully drain. Some in the pan and some on the paper. You don't want it to start steaming on the paper. So the more you can let it drain in the pan, the better. I'm just going to close my fire there and let my oil cool in the background as I prepare a little space to get us plated up here. All right, so bringing my lobster over here and checking my grits one more time, just to make sure they're doing okay. And they are. I'm just kind of whipping them up, making sure nothing's sticking or burning, and we're good. I'm going to add, though, just a little bit more liquid. I see that they've tightened up, and we want them to expand. We want them to expand in the liquid, and so we want them to expand in the liquid. So I'm just making sure that can happen. It's totally fine. I know it seems like you start a recipe with a set amount of liquid that you have, but grits are just sort of, every pot is going to be a little bit different. Every time you cook them, it's gonna take on a little bit different form. So don't be afraid of that. Just add water when you see them drying out so they expand. All right. And I'm just gonna get them all nice and creamed up again. There we go. And my water is incorporated. And now I can leave them again for a little while without worrying. All right, and so as we plate up our lobster, I'm just coming over to kind of get them going on our platter here. And remember, I told you that we would put together a remoulade sauce, and I meant that. We're going to do just that. Get the lobster down. Nice and juicy and tender. I can smell it. It smells wonderful. Okay. And we'll make us a little remoulade here. And what I have for the remoulade is a little tiny bit of mustard that we've made in-house. It's a mustard that we make in-house, a Creole mustard, and very much like a Dijon. And I'm adding approximately a teaspoon of the mustard, the spicy mustard, to this. I'm going to add just a little bit of hot sauce because that's how I like my remoulade. Not everyone makes it that way, but my mom did it this way, and this is how I'm doing it. And a little mayo. Remember all of those cornichon pickles and capers and green peppercorns, preserved green peppercorns? We're mixing all of that in together in this remoulade. The mustard, the mayo, the hot sauce, the capers, all of it. Okay, and so it'll be a nice little chunky sauce that'll go really, really well with our and it's really nice to be able to sort of taste everything. I'm just gonna take a little taste and see if it needs anything. I am gonna add just a little bit of this seasoning that I prepared for the lobster. And just a pinch of that. It has some paprika in it. It has some smoked paprika, some sweet paprika, a little chili in there as well. And I just like the kick of it all. So my remoulade is a little bit on the redder side because of all those spices and the hot sauce. All right. So now that we have our remoulade, we're going to just plate it up there so that it can be dipped. The lobster can be dipped. And we're going to plate it up with a little bit of our pickled peppers. And we pickle these peppers in-house as well. And I just want to put a little of those on the plate to give you a little something to bite back and help you out with this, you know, cutting the grease and the fried food. It's a tradition in African American cuisine to have pickled peppers with fried foods, fried fish, fried shrimp, and today fried lobster. These are a sweet pepper, a sweet California pepper that I've selected for this. A little fresh herbs, some pearled onion, a little peppercorn. Very nice. All right, and here you go. Our chicken fried lobster with remoulade and pickled peppers. I hope you enjoy it. So as an accompaniment to this really tasty lobster that we've put together, we're going to add a little side salad just to give us a little bit of veg to go with our seafood. Today I'm having a little bit of kale. This is a curly kale, and also a bit of mustard greens that are also of the curly variety. So I'm mixing those two in raw form. I'm just going to give this a really rough chiffonade on the thinner side, about 1/8 of an inch, and we'll get this into our bowl with the rest of our ingredients here, and we'll toss it up with a really lovely dressing. All right, so if you know anything about California, we are the produce capital of the United States. California supplies roughly 72% of all the nation's produce. And so because of that, we have a rich bounty of things that are available to us pretty much year round that we can source and get some really good nutrients in. Today, I'm using some wonderful, beautiful watermelon radish. We're going to throw those in. A really fresh cucumber that I've shaved a little bit of green, a little bit of white. We've taken a little bit of that green off just so it's not too, too bitter. And then we're adding a little bit of these sunshiny golden beets along with these beautiful cara orange juice to go in and get our greens all marinated. So I'm going to add a little bit of oil and vinegar, just a really simple vinaigrette. I'm going back to that Creole mustard that I told you about that we make in-house, and we're going to put that together right now. So what you want is about 2 tablespoons of oil, and I'm just putting that into a little measuring cup here. You can do it in a bowl, whatever you like. It's perfectly fine. So today I'm using a mozzarella Italian extra virgin olive oil. It's a really sort of peppery background, and it's really going to cut into these sort of heavy greens for me. Greens that have a personality of their own and can be like really green, really fresh, really leafy, and give that fresh green taste. We just want to cut it with a little bit of pepper, so that's what we're doing. About 3 tablespoons of that. I'm also going to use a little balsamic vinegar for this, about the same, 2.5 to 3 tablespoons of that. I like to do my vinaigrette with the same portions, oil to vinegar. And that balsamic has a little bit of that same cara flavor as the citrus that we're using in this. So I'm going to take just a tiny bit again of my mustard, just a tiny bit, maybe about 1/4 of a teaspoon, not much at all. And that's just to get the vinaigrette all emulsified and gathered together. Okay. And I'm mixing and I'm mixing. There we go. And at this point, some people would add garlic or an aromatic. I'm going to opt out of that today because we're using aromatics in our sauce for our next course, and I just want to keep this very, very light, very, very fresh. So I'm going to add my orange juice instead of into the vinaigrette directly on to my greens. These cara oranges come from California. They're grown there. They're so beautifully pink and juicy on the inside. Their juice is really, really sweet. a little less sour than, say, their naval counterparts. All right, and it's totally okay that I got some of the pulp in. It'll add to the flavor of the salad, give it a little character. All right, so let's go ahead and add the vegetables that we want to sort of get some of this dressing on, and that's what I'm doing here. I'm just gonna add some of the watermelon radish. Watermelon radish can be a little bit bitter, a little bit peppery, so we just want to make sure that the dressing gets soaked into that. So yeah, I'm just gonna put a little bit more of these golden beets is what I'm using today. And you'll notice the golden beets in the store, they're not super pretty on the outside, but they're beautiful on the inside. A really sort of rusty orange color on the exterior, but once they're washed up and sliced, they're beautiful. They also have a really nice sweetness to them that'll yield well in the salad. So I've mixed up my vinaigrette. You can see that it's gotten emulsified, and you'll see that sort of by the texture of it. Very silky, very thick, and that's kind of what you're looking for in the 1-to-1 ratio for oil to vinegar here. All right, so I've gotten my vinaigrette in here. I also want to add a little bit of salt. That salt will act sort of as an abrasive and a flavoring agent in order to get the oil and the vinegar really absorbed into the greens as we massage it. We have to massage it in just to ensure that flavor gets through. These greens are a little bit on the tough side. There's some green peppercorn there that we've crushed up, and now I'm just gonna really get my hands dirty, get in here and massage the salad. I reserved about a teaspoon of the dressing just so we can top it off, like right toward the end. And now you can see these greens are really waking up. They're super green now as you massage the dressing through. The salt is giving us that abrasion that we need to just sort of get everything mixed in and break these greens down as we go through them. And you want to do this for, I don't know, approximately a minute, maybe a minute and a half. You don't want them to turn into a pulpy mess. You just want to make sure that all the dressing is touching each of the leaves. You know, they curl in on themselves, and you know, you're just kind of spreading them out and getting the dressing worked through. All right, so I'm liking the way that this is looking. It smells divine. I can smell the orange in that. A theme that you'll see throughout the course of today's recipes. And so let's get it plated. All right, so I'm just gonna add this directly to my salad bowl. If this isn't California in a plate, I don't know what is. All right, a little bit more of our greens. Let people see those beautiful vegetables that you put in. All right. And like I said before, we'll add a little bit of that dressing and salt and pepper right in the end here, like I promised, just to give it that oomph, so you know it tastes really nice as someone bites into it. All right, and just finished it with a little bit of cracked green pepper on the end. And I'm even gonna do a little pinch of salt. All right. All right, so with our lobster, we have a nice fresh salad that is ready to go and super delicious. Stay tuned, and we're going to go right back to our grits and get our fish on to cook. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna season my black codfish here with a little bit of house seasoning that we use back home. It's just a little bit of Creole spice, salt, pepper. There's some thyme in here, some oregano, a little bit of garlic, a little bit of onion. And I'm being generous with that. I've actually put down a little bit of bacon grease into my pan after rendering a few bits of bacon, which we'll use in the pan sauce a little bit later. But for right now, I'm gonna go ahead and sear this fish in a really hot cast iron pan right into the oil, skin side down, and you just want to let that tighten up. You'll see the flesh start to get nice and tight. You want it to fully cook on the bottom, to brown really nicely on the bottom before you try to flip it, so that it releases from the pan, and then you can flip it, you know, without ruining all your hard work. All right, so that's nice and going. I also want to maybe just do one more fillet. I'm gonna season it again, same thing. A little on both sides. Like I said before, that coloration that you see on this side lets you know which side is the skin side. And you want to put this skin side down in your pan as well. All right, now we got nice, two lovely fillets going there. So this black cod is local to California, and ooh, you should smell that. It smells divine. And I'm just gonna get my fire up, make sure it's searing nice and evenly. And while that's going, I'm gonna go ahead and work again with my grits. And you're saying to yourself, oh my God, these grits have been going this whole time. Yes, they've been going this whole time. And now they are a really creamy, really expanded consistency. So as I check on my grits, I'm finding that they're doing just fine. I'm gonna go ahead and flip my first piece of fish here. I just wanna make sure that I'm flipping it into some oil, so when we get contact with the pan, there's oil down at the bottom and it doesn't stick on the opposite side. The skin side tends to release a lot easier than the top side, and so I just want to make sure there's plenty of oil still in the pan for that. And I'm just going to give it a quick moment on this side because I feel like it just needs a little bit more time. And I'm touching it and it feels, yeah, still a little bit underdone. I'm waiting for that to, you know, you'll see the sides become opaque. The brown, the very outer side of it will start to brown and get crispy looking. That's what you're looking for. You can even start seeing some opaqueness coming through the top. All right, so I think we're there. And I'm just, again, making sure I have a little bit of oil for my flip. All right, there we go. Nice and brown. All right, so while the fish finishes off, I'm just gonna add my cheese to my grits. It's that time. We've added our broth. We've added a little water. There's some milk in here, making it very, very creamy. And so I'm adding my cheddar cheese mixture here. And these are going to be really, really nice. You saw we added a little seasoning, which is basically a little salt and pepper with the garlic and onion in there. And here's where they start to get a little bit thick. That's okay. Totally fine. You can start bringing it off the fire. They're hot enough. They'll keep warm. Won't be any problem keeping them warm. And you can finish them off with just a little bit of butter to loosen them up just a little bit. All right, so we put some butter at the top, and I told you at the top we'll put some at the end, and that's what we're doing here. I think my fish is right on the money here, coming along very nicely. All right, I'm gonna add a little bit of fresh thyme to my pot here just to get the aroma going in the pan with this fish. I'm also going to add a little bit of my lemon juice. The steam from the liquid will help to cook the fish through and give it a really nice flavor. All right, so I'm going to rest this fish so I can finish off the pan sauce. And I'm just resting it here on a little piece of foil. Nothing magic about that. And I have a few little bits here in the pan, and that's perfectly fine. I'm going to reduce my fire just a little bit, down to low. Add a little bit more of my lemon juice. I'm going to add a little bit of bacon and get that going, just to render a little bit of that smoky flavor. So I got my thyme, I got my bacon, and there's a little bit of garlic as well in this. I'm going to add my garlic. All right. I'll just put that in as well. All right. And then I'm going to deglaze my pan with a little stock, a little butter, there we go. All right. And I'm using a beef stock here. You can use any stock that you want. If you want to use a seafood stock, if you want to use a poultry stock, chicken, turkey broth, that's perfectly fine. Use what makes you feel comfortable, what you like the best. I like the deepness of a beef stock with my grits, and so that's what I'm using here today. All right, so this is looking super beautiful. I like the color that it's taken on. The bacon is cooked through because we had it on such a high heat. The deglazing just really got all the brown bits off the bottom of the pan for me. And I'm gonna reintroduce my fish back into the pan just to finish it off and make sure that we're done through and through. All right. All right, and while that's sort of going there, I'm gonna start plating my grits, putting my grits down, and you'll see how we plate this dish, all right? So as I finish Finish off my fish. I'm just covering it, tinting it ever so slightly with a little piece of foil paper so that it cooks through. I'm also lowering my heat onto the fish so that it cooks through while I get together all of the other pieces. I'm going to take my grits here and get us plated. Our cheesy grits. All right. And I'm gonna just chop a little bit of garnish. This is just a little scallion that we got straight out of California, very local produce there. A local farm out of Berkeley, and I'm just gonna chop this up. And we'll use this as a garnish on top of our fish. Fish, scallions, lemon juice. Who could be more happy? All right, so as we get that going, it's time to get our fish on top of here. And I'm just closing my fire here, and there we go. All right. I'm just having my fish right on top there. I can see that this fish is very flaky. It's very tender, and we're just plating it right on top of our grits there. All right. We'll top it with a little bit of thyme. And I'm picking through my thyme because I like to use the thyme that has a little bit of the flowers on it. It's usually a little bit more pungent. You can get that nice thyme aroma. I'm rubbing it to sort of wake up that aroma, and you get that as soon as you have it to your palate. A little bit of fish here. I'm just gonna add just a tiny bit more stock in my pan to kind of get my sauce reconstituted and ready. There we go. And a spoon. Sorry. There we go. All right. And that's just a little bit of that beef stock, that bacon, that garlic, that lemon going right over the top of our fish and pooling just ever so slightly on our grits. Just a little bit more. All right. And this is a classic fish and grits recipe right out of California. All right, so I'm gonna make what we call a dirty California sunrise, and it's a nice bourbon drink with a little blood orange liqueur, some bitters, and you're gonna love it, I promise. I'm adding a bit of ice to my glass. A really old-fashioned looking glass. I love the look of this. Make sure it's nice and cold. Maybe just a little bit more. Can't have enough ice. All right, and I'm gonna go ahead and add my bitters directly to my glass. Just about, I don't know, two drops of bitters there. I'm gonna give myself a bit of an orange twist. Add my bourbon. About 2 ounces. bad about adding that essence right over the drink. All right. And there you have it. A dirty little California sunrise. I hope you enjoy it. So we're moving into our dessert, and I'm so glad to share this with you. I've used a really classic creme brulee recipe and added just a touch of soul to it by using a bit of sweet potato puree. My mom used to cream her sweet potatoes with butter and sugar to make her sweet potato pies, and it came to me like a light bulb. I should put some of that filling inside the creme brulee, and that's what we've done here. A little vanilla bean, and we've added another touch, some smoked bourbon sugar along with our superfine sugar, just to give it that crispy, smoky texture on the very top. So here we go. Let's get our sugar. And you want to be generous with the sugar, like on the top, so that it really does form the crust like you want it to. And I'm just mulling it around to make sure it's covering all the bits. And I'm even leaving a little bit in the center there. All right. I'm gonna put just a tiny bit more too, just to make sure it's not too thin around the sides, okay? All right. And the reason you do that is so that the brulee portion of this really stands up to the heat. So I'm gonna use my torch. Always be careful when you're releasing your valve. Hold it away from your face. I'm only turning it sort of halfway to see if I can get it to ignite at halfway, and I can't, so I'm just, taking it full throttle. And I'm just gonna carefully, gently, really pay attention to how the sugar is caramelizing. Don't go for just the torchy feels, right? You also want to be careful that you're not burning it for the sake of burning it. And so I'm just going very gingerly across, trying to do it evenly, even backing up off of it at times. All right, there we go. There we go. And we got a little blaze going there. And that's all right. There's still sugar, there's bourbon going on. All right. And it's okay, don't worry about it being just a little bit darker. That's the bourbon sugar, that's the smoke inside the bourbon sugar. There's a lot going on there. You have a brown raw cane sugar, you have white sugar going on there. Totally fine. And that burnt flavor will really give it the complexity that you want. I'm gonna add a little bit of whipped cream, and not on the top, just a little bit on the side, so that you just have a little fresh cream to balance out that burnt sugar. It smells like toasted marshmallows in here, you guys. You aren't gonna believe this smell. It is wonderful. All right. And I have a little bit of a brown sugar caramel that I'm just gonna drizzle over my cream there. All right. Decorate it with a little California poppy flowers. And there you go. With your dirty little sunrise, you have Something really, really special. Sweet potato creme brulee. Thank you for joining us on today's episode of Keena's Kitchen. We loved having you and cooking with you. If you want more information on the recipes that you saw today, as well as any of the items, crafted items that we make in-house and used in the recipes, visit us at keenaskitchen.org or visit us on Instagram at Keena's Kitchen.